There you go.
Okay, we're calling the meeting to order at 6:30. The first order of business is to seat alternates. Carol Stats unfortunately can't be at our meeting tonight, but she asked if Carl would be seated. So, can I have a motion to seat Carl for Carol?
So moved.
Thank you, Dave.
Second.
Thank you, Sue. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? No. What is that?
No, any abstentions, any objections?
Yeah.
I don't have any.
Okay,
Tom, can you take yourself off mute so we can hear your vote?
all in favor? Aye, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Carl.
Yeah.
Public comment, 2 minutes from anyone in the audience who would like to. Hi, Fred.
Hi, Chris
Okay.
Kinsella.
Yes, please.
From one item from October 16th meeting was, under the first selectmen's report was, item P. The Kellogg unexpended funds. Henry explained the Kellogg school budget for the fiscal year 21-22 was underspent by 104,000. Only 54,000 have been returned to the general fund by the Kellogg Board of Education. It requires that all unexpended funds returned to the general fund by the commission and boards. The remaining 50,000 was put in the educational capital reserve account in error. I just wanted to make sure that somewhere in the minutes of the Board of Finance that has been taken care of.
I believe we did something to that effect at the last meeting, didn't we? No. Meeting before. Thanks,
That
Chris.
would have been,
Yeah,
would have
October.
been last, well, that was the October, that was October 16th.
I have to look at the minutes. Anybody have a recollection? I do remember talking about this because the timing, I had asked why they couldn't have it go into their fund, and it was because of the timing, the books had closed. So no one else has any recollection of that?
I believe you're correct, but I'm not sure whether
Mhm.
that has been, I know Linda was here at that.
Linda was here at that point, I
Right.
know.
And she answered my question.
Right.
She did, I don't remember what ended up happening with it, I'm pretty sure
Went back to,
I know there was discussion with the auditors and Linda about it. That money couldn't be used that way, because it was after. the close.
right, and I believe it was supposed to be returned to the general
That's
fund.
what I believe too, I would have to look, I mean, I can look that up and get that answer for you guys. but-
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
And also, I don't know, Denise, do you have any recollection about
There was
it?
no
Action?
discussion by the Board of Finance. Dan mentioned it, but
That was it.
Pat promised not to do it again.
Cheer recollection.
Mhm.
Okay, I do remember asking about it. Okay, thanks, Chris. Anybody else? Okay. We will-
I have something to read in.
Thanks.
I don't know if Louis gave this to you, Amy. It's addressed to you.
He talked to me, but he hasn't
Okay,
given anything to
So,
me.
I'll be brief. Lou, as some of you know, was, not happy about the way the town meeting that was adjourned to a referendum on the sale of the old firehouse was conducted. He thought the public should have had a right to speak and thought it was, improper that they were excluded. This isn't our issue. I mentioned that to him, but he said he still wanted it brought before the Board of Finance anyway, so that we're aware, perhaps of heightened awareness of the financial affairs of the town. And this is basically just to sensitize us to make sure we keep our eyes open. So here's his comment. I'll read it. It's brief. The referenced meeting, this is the special town meeting that was adjourned to a referendum. The referenced meeting took place November 6th at Town Hall. See attachment, including meeting warning. The warning effectively prohibited participation by those assembled to attend the meeting, except for the selectmen who assumed for themselves the sole right to run the meeting. I objected to this takeover by the selectmen of the people's meeting. See attached meeting minutes. The selectmen proceeded in this way because legal counsel advised them they could. see attachment. He showed me the opinion from council, which he got voluntarily from Dave. So my objections are as follows. The action violates long-established customs and practice. The action violates the ethical principles of classical democracy that is the foundation of New England town meeting government. The plain language of the statute does not permit, see the attachment. I have provided a copy of part of the statutory provision provided by council to the selectmen in which council has had underlined a portion of the statute. I have highlighted a part of the sentence which he ignored. In the second page of the attachment, which states council's opinion and which I have highlighted, you will find that council's opinion contradicts the plain language of the statute. I convey this memo to you as the Board of Finance, since it is your board which recommends appropriations to the town meeting. Therefore, I believe you have a duty of care to be concerned that legislative town meetings comport with the ethical traditions of our town and the letter of the law, respectively submitted, Louis Timelot. And what he highlighted was a portion of the statute that does reference the requirement to have reasonable discussion at the meeting that happened. The council's opinion says the town meeting must be opened and debate allowed. Oh, it says in neither case, an irrelevant case or the case that was actually before the committee. In neither case does the statute provide that the town meeting must be open and debate allowed before the matter is set for a vote. So Lou has a point. He's got a very valid point. He's going to reopen a legal issue, but he wanted this read into the record.
Could you ask him if it's addressed to me to send it to me?
I'll give you this one.
No, if you could ask him to send it to me, that would be more proper, I think.
Well,
And
I
he
can
has my
certainly do that,
email.
but I'll leave this for you. He gave me this copy to give to you.
Oh, okay.
So
You were the deliverer. Okay, I thought it was emailed to you.
no.
Okay, so if it was, that's great. Because I haven't had a chance to read it, although I did talk to him. So thank you so much.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
It's up to the Board of Finance if they want to include written communication received to one member or not, to attach it to the minutes.
I think I would recommend that I would like everyone to have a chance to actually read it
Mhm.
before we accept it into the minutes. So I'm gonna ask Lou to, or I can scan it in and get it to everybody, because there were he has a lot of great points in here. We had a lot of support information, and I think it's important that everybody have the full picture before it be part of the minutes. And this is the first time I'm getting it formally, so.
So for this meeting, they will not be attached.
Right.
So let's remember to bring it up.
Yeah,
so in
actually,
our
it
Next
may,
meeting, so I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be in the minutes,
Right.
but if you want to wait a month, that's fine.
right, and I'd also like possibly to even get it on the agenda for the next meeting.
He wasn't asking that?
Yeah, after I spoke to him, there was something that we might have a discussion about. So, I may talk to you about it.
Yeah, I spoke to him today. He was not asking for that. He just wanted it read into the record.
Okay, thanks. Okay, great. Any other public comment? We have, actually, okay, reports. We're gonna go to reports then, because we had communications. I didn't see anything other than a letter from King and King that they've finished the audit. But I don't think I have anything else. Can anyone else think of anything else?
At the minutes of the last
No,
meeting.
No, we are about to go to
Okay, I'm
reports
sorry.
now.
I
So,
apologize.
to the reports, I'd like a motion to accept the secretary's report for the November 13th regular meeting.
So moved.
Thanks.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any, I forgot to ask if there was discussion, any corrections or anything. No? Okay.
Tom, did you vote?
Oh, yeah, all in favor? Once again, any objections or abstentions? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Okay. And done. And then may I have a motion to approve the secretary's report for the special meeting on November 20th?
I was not present for that one.
I wasn't either.
So moved.
Thanks, Steve.
Second.
Thanks, John. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? I have to abstain because I wasn't there.
Abstain.
Motion carried, I think. Do I have, we had enough people there? 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. Okay, now we're going to go to the treasurer's report. Can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented?
So moved.
Steve? Second,
Second.
Carl? Any discussion or questions?
I just have one question. The amount that was in the general fund as of the end of October was, approximately $835,000. And the amount that's available as of the end of November is about $250,000 less. I'm sure there's an explanation for that, the money was spent on something, but I have to confess that looking at these statements, I couldn't crack why one number went down so much and some other number didn't compensate in the other direction. So I'm not gonna ask for a discussion of that now, because I know we got a lot of business to do tonight. But when we get to new business at the end of the meeting, I'm gonna come back to this.
Just quickly, John, a lot of that is monies that went into the reserve funds
At the end,
at the end of the, as Michelle would be our fire apparatus or ambulance. So those are some.
From October to November?
Yes.
Okay.
is that when that happens?
Some of that did happen. There
Yes.
was also a large expendage, which I would have to get from the Board of Ed that to change those numbers.
So that's why you had the large drop.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
The number that I would have expected to change with it, but did not, was, the cash requirements for the fiscal year. So that could be just something that properly wasn't done, or in any event, I'll come back to it when we get to new business.
Okay,
And I'd like to raise one issue. Again, it can be for future discussion, but the main account at National Iron Bank, and I appreciate our use of the local banks, although I don't believe National Iron Bank is actually in the village. Is $708,000 with an interest rate of 0.02%. Even Salisbury Bank is giving us 3% on a money market account. Online money market accounts like Marcus are probably in the, or Capital One in the 4 to 4.5%. For a $708,000 deposit, it seems to be leaving a lot of money on the table. And I think we ought to discuss it at some point.
so that's another possible new item to
Yeah.
talk about is where the reserve funds are being held. Is that how you would say it? Okay, so we have a motion on the table to accept the treasurer's report as presented. And
Receive.
receive, accept. All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Okay. Can I have a motion to receive the tax collector's report as presented? Steve, thanks.
Yep. So moved.
And a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Tom. Any discussion or questions about the tax collector's report? No? Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Now for, may I have a motion to accept, to receive the Board of Education's report? Motion, anybody?
Motion received, the Board of Education report.
Anybody else? For a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, it's on the table. Are there any discussion or questions about the Board of Education's report? That seems pretty much on track. They're kind of halfway through the year and expenses are in line with that. Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, now we are going to Selectmen's report.
Okay. This evening, what we will be talking about, we received 3 written communications. I'll read them in at the time of Board of Selectmen report. We, John, I hate to impose upon you, but if you go back into the transfer station, I think there's a couple copies there. No, the box is here. I
Mailbox.
apologize. I forgot to grab them. The mailbox there,
Right
right here. They're down on the bottom on the right, transfer station. I apologize. I meant to grab a couple copies. Thank you very much. I only ran up a couple copies, but one of the things that we are doing is looking at raising the fees for a bulk waste. It's pretty well spelled out there. I've been working with Bruce on it. We are quickly running out of room in our bulk waste area, and part of the idea is if we have people who are doing large projects at their home, rather than bringing a trailer full of something, maybe they should think about actually getting a roll-off dumpster and doing it. If they're cleaning out their basement, downsizing, whatever, perhaps they should be thinking about that. Again, we're running quickly out of room in bulk waste, and this we hope will mitigate some of the problem. I'm going to present this tonight to the Board of Selectmen for approval, and I would like it enacted as of January 1. So that's that. The Department of Transportation, just quickly, I have registered myself as our traffic authority in this town, being the chief elected official here, and we have no police department. We are looking at speed limits on Route 7 and Route 126. I've already submitted those to be dropped significantly. We'll see where that goes. I hold some hope in that they will take what we say and at least drop the speed limits by 10 miles an hour. There is a request that you also have for supplemental appropriations for the recording secretary, up to $1,000, and the deputy treasurer, recommendation up to $3,500. And without going in, you also are in receipt of that, so you'll be reading that in. Okay. Planning and Zoning Commission appointments. I sent out to the chair, and I hope you all had a chance to look at it, the Region 1 capital maintenance projects presentation. We have nothing to do with it at this moment in time, but I just wanted it on your radar to look at it. I didn't know how many of you had attended the meeting or via Zoom. I know that one of our selectmen, Chris Kinsella, who's over in the corner there, he had attended it. I attended it via phone. There was quite a bit there and quite a bit to soak up. So again, if you get a chance, please look through it.
Can I ask you a question about that, or do
Sure.
you want me to wait?
No, please.
Okay, just was wondering, sorry to be ignorant, does anyone know if that was recorded?
Yes.
Okay, I'd love to, if it would be enlightening, I would love to look at the recording, because it was a very simple presentation I found, and
Mhm.
it wasn't clear to me.
I believe it, let me say, I believe it was recorded, and it would be in Region 1's
Okay.
in their archives. And again, usually when I get on a Zoom, it says it's being recorded. I was on a phone. I never I never heard it, so. But just to get that on your radar. Next thing that we're looking at, the Falls Village Daycare apply for a grant. We don't know how far that'll go, but the grant is called the Connecticut Early Childhood Facilities Construction and Renovation Grant Program. And what it would look to do is to certainly fund some much needed repairs there. And again, they've applied for it. There's no guarantee whether or not they in fact will get it, but they did apply for it. I don't know how many of you had the opportunity to look at the Connecticut Education Network Connect Zoom. I actually attended 2 of them. I do have information that I will leave you with regarding it. Okay. And again, this is maybe an alternative to hooking in our, rather than using Frontier, but actually using CEN.
Right, you gave us something on this, links.
Right, and now this is some more information that you can utilize. I only have 1 copy of that, so I will leave it with you. Okay. I do have a meeting later on this week with Wendy Rago. I believe it's on Thursday. I have to look at my calendar. She is one of the folks who works with CEN Connect. Let's see, have the boom, boom, boom. Had a meeting with the new COG Community and Economic Development person, Rista Malaka. Matter of fact, Judy Jacobs was along with me. When we met her, we gave her a walk through town, and we talked about economic development in town. I will tell you right now, her idea is to regionalize a lot of the economic development. That doesn't mean that we have to fall under it, but they're looking at what each town here in the northwest corner offers. And I had a very interesting conversation with someone this afternoon who said they look at all the businesses in North Canaan, Salisbury, Kent, very little in Cornwall. But if we go back to our POCD, one of the things that people appreciate is the character of this town. So one of the things they look at is whatever economic development occurs here, but they're looking at everything as a whole rather than looking at each town. How would each one work off of each other? One of the things that I'm looking for, and I will have a meeting with her sometime right after the first of the year, is how we would like to put together an economic development commission or committee, more correctly.
I'm very interested in.
All right,
more about it.
and I would more than welcome when she finally, we finally set on the date. I'll be quite honest with you, the holidays are a little rough. By the way, happy holidays to everyone here. I should have said that right at the beginning. So we will be back in contact with her, and we'll be working on it. The Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection sent us our license, our water quality certification license to do our culvert project on Cobble Road. We are waiting for one more permit, and I cannot tell you when that permit will be coming. So I spoke to our Cardinal Engineering, who play a part in this, and they said they had no idea when it would be coming either, but as soon as it does, then we will start our movement on that particular project. King and King will be presenting this evening. We have the plan of conservation and development. I think you probably all have seen the link, and thank you for putting the link up, Denise, in several places. Much appreciated. I have only skimmed it quickly. I would like to sit down with the other selectmen before we give it any type of approval and move it forward, but we will call a meeting to actually do that. I think it would take a little too much time this evening to
So
do it.
that's the final.
This is the final that will be presented in the end. Okay. On the public hearing will be on January 25th, 2024.
Dave, is that on the website already? That's final?
Yes, it is. Okay, couple other things, old business update. I heard from our attorney that the easement part of the 35 Railroad Street property has been completed and we will be moving forward on that. Ordinance and policies, we'll be looking at these once again. I have a proposal from Frontier, which I will share with you also, which will go also with the CEN, so you can do some comparisons there. I talked about the Economic Development Director Committee. We'll be discussing a little bit about that. We're going to have our chairman, Chris Kinsella, talk about the Bridge and Infrastructure Committee, just to update where we are, and we'll be appointing another member. Now, the solar project. I'm going to tell everyone here, I cast a net deep and wide, and I got a net full of fish deep and wide. So I do not feel as though at this point in time, and I know that, John, you asked me for some homework, and I did the homework, and I got a lot more homework than I thought. I don't feel that I should actually put something forward, because I don't want to change something in January and tell you that this came up. I contacted 4 companies. I spoke earlier today with the town manager in the town of Killingly. I will share a little bit with you on what she said. Their entire project was done with their Board of Education, because they originally looked at their schools. And that's where they wanted to do the solar projects, and they have several types of, the only town building that they have actually covered is their Department of Public Works. The other thing that I'd like to share with you is, and she will be sharing some more things with me, is that they decided to lease everything, because that gets them out of any maintenance contracts. In the end, she was quite frank about this, and she's going to put together some numbers for us. But in the end, you don't gain as much money over the 20 years. But the other thing that she said was, taken well in hand, because I attended the CCM convention a couple of weeks ago, was that she worked with Titan Energy. And Titan Energy kind of helped them get through all the vendors, and they were able to decide which vendors were the best and so forth. So I'm going to leave this also with you. This is through the Connecticut Council of Municipalities. This is another possible avenue for us to work through in order to help us decide who, if we don't go with Eversource and Greenleaf. Now, Greenleaf, as she said, was well vetted with them, but they decided to go with a company called Green Skies. And the reason that I reached out to Killingly was that they have been touted on several websites as being one of the leaders. So I decided to reach out to her. But everything that you read online or in the Hartford Current was very, very thin on details. So we're trying to get the details, and we'll put that together. So again, I cast the net deep and wide and got a lot more fish than I thought. So we'll be sorting through those fish, so to speak. New business, tax rebates, consideration of planning and zoning appointments, consideration transfer bulk waste. So that's everything that I have for you this evening.
Any questions?
Just one, Dave. You don't need any more work, I'm sure, but has anybody in town hall had a conversation with the people in Sharon about their experience with their solar project?
Actually, I gave a call to Casey Flanagan, and he and I have been missing each other. Again, I know that if you read the newspaper accounts of it, again, I don't know if they're working with their Board of Education per se, but everything is going over at the Sharon Center School. I know that one of the things that I've read in the editorials is that they were concerned regarding health issues in putting it so close.
Right.
And that is something that I have to be honest, John, that I have never heard in the past as being a concern, but it's something that we should also look into. Oh, and by the way, all right, it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 568 truckloads of our town trucks to move the chips to a different place. So I don't know, I didn't ask our DPW chief how many runs he could make a day, depending how far. But again, when we looked at the chip pile, that may not be the place where we want to do it. But again, taking everything in a totality of circumstances, there are some other things to examine, which may make us decide where else we would want to locate the solar panels, if that's what we end up doing somehow. So again, I will say, again, a lot of avenues that I was not aware of.
Do you think that, by the January meeting, you are likely to have?
I will have a more cogent picture of
To
what
give to
we
us?
would be able to do, and I will give you a few examples from other towns, so we can feel free to reach out to them
Mhm.
and see what their experience has been. I can tell you that Killingly at this point in time is very happy. But again, as I said before, the town manager said, in the end, you would not gain as much money by leasing because you're paying to lease. But then again, they have not established a solar farm, but rather they have put solar panels on schools and so forth. And again, they worked with the Board of Education, building committees to do that.
I have one comment. I did come across another solar company, Pope Energy out of Boston.
Yes.
You're familiar with them?
I know the name. I haven't reached out to them, Steve.
He has, they do primarily, most of their work is in Massachusetts and I believe it's New York. But I mentioned to him about what we're thinking, and he's very interested in maybe discussing and starting projects down here. And what their main thing is putting these solar panels on difficult sites. They put them on a lot of farms where the tractors can mow underneath. They put them where livestock can graze. So they're open to their engineers are open to a lot of different things. So
Well, thank you. I'm familiar with them. I was actually looking for ones in state and.
Yeah.
I-
no,
But we'll reach out to them. If you give me the contact information, I've heard of them.
They
but I
might,
don't have
they
their-
might be looking for an entree. That might be worthwhile.
yeah.
Well, thanks,
So-
Dave. I
thank you.
will do my best to find these online and get them to people, so that you don't. have to
Actually, I will send
circulate
you,
these-
I
the
will
link
send
for
you the
this.
link for this.
There's that, yeah,
Yes.
and,
I need a copy for the minutes.
yeah, so, I'll send you a scanned copy, I guess. Okay, any other questions for Dave? Okay, can I have a motion to accept or do, I can't remember, do we do
I think
that?
to do it, yeah, all,
To
be separate,
receive
yeah.
the first selectmen's report as presented?
No, we
No.
usually don't.
We usually don't.
No, I just,
Okay, because that's a verbal report,
Right.
yes, okay, thanks. Before I go to old business, I just want to check also on protocol, do we have to vote to add agenda items to new business, like your item and your item?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, could I have just while we're taking a break between items, can I have a motion to add, actually, could you make it?
Yeah, I'd like to take up, I moved that we add to the agenda under new business, a discussion of having the financial officers of the town educate us on how they put the reports together so that we as a group can understand it as well as we should. I think with all the new members here, that would be beneficial.
Right.
So that's the motion that I would make, if you need a motion.
Oriented. A second,
a second.
any discussion? I'm gonna discuss a little bit because it's a very broad. And maybe when we talk about it, we'll.
It's
figure out-
actually quite narrow, so when we get there,
Okay, great, thanks. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Okay, great, motion passed. Can I ask you, Dave?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion at the next meeting that we discuss,
Next meeting, not new business?
it's new business, I'm sorry, new business.
Okay,
Make a motion to add new business that we discuss, the interest rate returns on both the general fund and the capital reserve account to determine whether they are, market.
great. All in, second? Can I have a second? Thanks. All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any objections? Okay, motion carries. So we have those two items added. Okay, we're going to go to old business interim treasurer's request for additional funds for secretary line item. We have a memo from our treasurer, Michelle Hanson. In view of the fact that there were more meetings / hearings, the recording secretary line number 1001-104 is overspent at this time by $320. There will be at least 9 more regular meetings at $80 per meeting, equaling $720. I would request that the Board of Finance make a supplemental appropriation of up to $1,000 to finish the fiscal year. Just to get it on the floor for discussion, can I have a motion to approve? Let's see, a supplemental appropriation to line 1001-104 to make a supplemental appropriation of $1,000 to finish the fiscal year. Can I have a second, or can I have that motion?
I'm assuming.
Okay, a second to get it on the floor for discussion. Thank you. Any questions about this from anybody at the table? Last time this was brought up, there were some questions I had, and it was to Denise, to let me know, can you confirm that that's roughly on track from what your understanding is?
Well, I didn't hear from Michelle. I know,
I just read it.
you'd asked us to connect, but that's not gonna be enough. And you can only appropriate one line item per year, so if you only do $1,000, you're gonna have to go to town meeting to come up with the rest of it. The budget for the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance is also affected, but they only budget for, I think, 12 meetings a year. Last year, the Board of Finance had 24 and the Board of Selectmen had 30. I don't know why it wasn't over this past fiscal year, because we certainly did more than 13 meetings. But if you're gonna need to allocate. We've had 17 Board of Selectmen so far. There was 20 meetings last year from November until June 30th. I'm saying 14 because between 4 and 6 were 35 Railroad Street connected. And keep in mind that includes public hearings, because that's a special meeting. You also have budget season coming up, where you have multiple meetings. So I would allocate 1,500 for Board of Selectmen, and you're gonna need probably close to 1,000 for Board of Finance.
So another 2,500.
Yeah. That's with a slightly less meetings than last year, going from November through June 30th.
Yeah, you can only do your best to project, but that's why I asked you.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the numbers I came up with. I subtracted for 35 Railroad Street.
Then any monies we don't expend can always
Yes.
go back to the.
Of course.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it's not
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
So
I would say up to.
an additional, not 1,000, but 2,500.
I would do 1,500 for the Board of Selectmen's line item and 1,000 for the Board of Finance, so 2 separate line items.
Are they?
They are,
1001-104 is just Board of Finance?
it's just Board of Selectmen.
Oh, just Board of Selectmen. Okay, and what is Board of Finance, please?
What's the line item for that one?
Let's see, is 1001 dash. I'm sure I can find it too here.
And the budget. Board of Finance. Oh, I don't have a line item on that.
Thanks, Michelle. Okay, Board of Finance, is it one,
10011,
104.
yeah.
Selectmen.
and
1007.
009.
104 is which?
No, 104 is better.
1007.
1007 dash 104.
104 is the secretary line of the Board of Finance.
1007-104 is Board of Finance.
Yeah.
And 1001-104 is Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
So I just, yeah, so if those are the right numbers, that's the first thing. 1001-104 is Board of Selectmen, 1007-104 is Board of Finance.
Yeah.
And then, so my next question is to Michelle is, does that sound right to adjust your request?
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
it does. I mean, Denise knows better than I do how many meetings, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Any other questions from others?
I didn't realize that I was asked to connect, so.
No, you weren't here at the last. meeting,
Yeah, so I would have,
Not a problem. No other questions? So, who moved? Was it Steve? I can't remember who made
I
them.
need a motion to amend the motion?
Yes, exactly, but I have to find who made the motion?
Dave made the motion,
Dave.
Steve seconded.
So he's amending to, you say it. For Denise.
To amend the motion to, we're amending it to 1,500 for Board of Finance and what's the number?
1,000
And 1,000.
for Board of
No,
Select,
other way around.
other way around. 1,000 for Board of Selectmen. And
1,500 for Board of Selectmen, 1,000 for
Thanks.
Board of Finance,
That's
up to,
yeah, up to,
Up to.
yeah, up to,
For a total of 20,000.
can I
okay.
have a second to amend the motion?
Second,
All in favor?
aye,
Any objections? Okay,
So unanimous to amend?
it is unanimous to amend, and now we'll vote. All in favor of the amended motion?
aye,
Aye.
Aye. All in favor? Any objections? Great. Okay, does that do it for that motion, Denise? Just checking?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we have another request from our treasurer. The treasurer's office will also need supplemental appropriations for up to $3,500 to number 1009-104. This will enable further training with Linda Paybill acting as deputy treasurer. During my 11-year tenure as deputy treasurer, emphasis was placed on processing payroll payments and revenue to maintain continuity to the treasurer not be able to fulfill a job or commitments. Additionally, there are numerous reports, budget planning, and the audit that are required on an annual basis that would require additional support to complete this first fiscal year. Lastly, we need to switch our current system from Alden, Novak, and Dodd, which will no longer be supported as of 2025, to QuickBooks by July 1st, 2024. The deputy treasurer will need to be trained to utilize this new system during the transition. So that actually helped answer some of the questions I had from your previous memo, which was, what did you, because it was very short last time.
Yep.
How much time and is it enough time, and what exactly would it be for? So thank you for clarifying that. May I have a motion to approve the request for supplemental appropriations up to $3,500 for budget line number 1009-104.
So moved.
I'm sorry, what was that line number?
1009-104,
Okay, thank you.
up to 3,500. Thanks, Dave. And a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Tom. Discussion. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask, especially since Michelle's here for this meeting about this?
you're, pretty sure that this will cover it?
Yeah, Linda and I sat down and figured out how many hours we thought she would have to come in and have it to it. Cause she already knows all of this system, it's
Yeah.
a new system, and just teaching me some new things, so.
And so it's, bettering your qualifications?
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah, it's helping me, learn.
Because we won't have Linda at our beck and call,
No,
although she's
We
not
got-
far.
we got used to that.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Any objections? Okay, motion carries for that one.
So, one second,
Yes.
all three of, both of these are coming out of your $20,000 allocation the Board of Finance has, right?
Does that, I think the Board of Finance portion of the recording secretary does.
No, you guys can do supplemental appropriations up to $20,000 a year without
Yes.
going to town meeting. So all
Correct.
three of these, both of these are coming from
They'll
that.
all come
Right.
from.
Okay, yes, you are correct.
So what's our cumulative dipping into the $20,000 for the year so far?
This is it, so.
11 to
This is the first
12,000. No, we have 6,000.
Or,
This fiscal
Water
year?
testing.
Yes,
Oh, that's right, the 6,000. Yeah, that was earlier this year. this
So you're up to
fiscal year.
12.
so 11,000?
Well,
12,000. All right.
We need a little more.
8 left.
We might need a little more wiggle room, right? Before we get to the C, because I think we'll go to C, finish old business. I believe we've had our update from our first selectman. Does anybody else have any other questions on the solar project? It looks like Dave's gonna do his best to get us more information, and I'll scan in these documents and get them up to other people. Any other questions on that item?
Just one request, Dave. This can get complicated. The financial aspects of it can get complicated depending on how the thing is structured. What I'll be looking for is a complete picture of the financial cost and benefits.
okay.
I mean, if this is an asset we buy, it's a wasting asset. This thing will have to be depreciated. All that stuff has to go into the financial return that this thing gives. So we can, I mean, that's the number I'll be looking for. All the factors leading to the ultimate internal rate of return on the project.
John, when I get all this information together, because again, some of this leasing and some of partial leasing and partial purchasing, I'd like to perhaps sit down with you and we can work
Yeah.
collectively and try to put something together for a presentation. Again, I say with a little bit of a smirk, I threw that net out there. There was a lot more out there that actually,
And I think we can
Came into our
rely,
net.
or at least ask the companies who are promoting this to lend us a hand with this. That ought to be something that's part of their pitch.
I think part of the, again, not to belabor the point, but Titan Energy, which you'll read a little bit with the Connecticut Council of Municipalities. They reach out to different towns, municipalities and so forth. They might be a very, very good resource for us to use.
It would help you compare apples to apples.
Exactly. I've found that, CCM has over the years provided a lot of information for us. So,
I'll say that my concern is that it's a lot of information to stick on an agenda item in January. And so my wish would be to have a meeting that allows us to really digest the information. Maybe January's meeting determines if we have enough information in order to really delve in. Because it really does, we're gonna have a lot of questions. We might need to invite people to answer those questions, that kind of a thing. So my expectations at the January meeting are really mostly to assess, are we ready? Do we have everything we need to really dig deep and maybe dedicate some time as a group to really dig and examine it? So that's just my 2 cents. We don't have to do anything about that.
oh, go.
Okay. Cool, no. Before we get to 7, I need to welcome King and King, because they're not on this agenda, and I'd like to make a motion to have King and King, before we go to new business, present our audited statement. Can I have a motion? Thanks. Second?
Second.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Where did you add it in, Steve?
It's not old business, really.
New
It's-
business. Nine
It's
C?
really new business, but I'm gonna make it A. If you don't mind. We have 3. We have 2 so far, but I'd rather have it be before the other two.
let's see though, because the motions included 9A and 9B. Just move them up.
Okay, I'm moving this one up to A. So, if that's okay, all in favor? Because we have guests here. Okay. Aye?
Aye.
Great, thank you. So, I don't even know what suspense items are. But we don't have any. That I know
Come on, please tell us.
of. So I'm gonna go to King and King to help us understand what our how we did with our audited report. I did look through that page, many pages that, and you can pass that around, that we received by email, 70 plus. But I love this. Easy thing to summarize for the sake of a meeting. So, you see guys one.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got it.
Oh, but I'll get
Denise,
Dave
I'll-
one.
I'll take
If you
that.
have an extra,
I'm sorry.
great, thanks.
Thanks.
And so
Sir,
that-
the floor is yours, you two. Thank you. And we have Chris and Debbie, thank you.
We're gonna hand it over to Debbie shortly, but some things we discussed, excuse me. Suspense items are probably, are they taxes? Taxes that are being moved to suspense on both accounts.
No.
Those are
That's
items that
financial
they
suspense.
suspend
Yes.
from previous meetings.
Okay.
Thank you.
Financial is
Yeah.
different.
Do you, I don't know if I didn't hear it clearly. Do you realize that when you've added to the budget? So you're taking from fund balance on these motions to add for the secretary?
Yes, we do know that. Yes.
Third, when you
Well,
talk.
we have in the budget, $20,000 to do that with. No,
No.
okay,
That would be contingency you're referring to?
no, you're right.
So these
You're
are
adding to
additions,
the budget.
yes, to the budget. As opposed to transferring from another line item, like we see. The third is, when you talk about investing your public deposits, there are statutory restrictions on that.
I'm gonna look into that.
Okay, so
Thank you.
you probably, like the online banks will be pretty much off limits. Unless they're
I'll look at
FDIC,
that.
so. Okay, so that was interesting.
Thank you. Wonderful. It's great to have you listening in and not just at the beginning of the meeting and skipping
Well,
out.
that's what I say, usually they're first and gone.
That's great.
And I was hoping I wasn't gonna be all the way to 7.
Sorry. Sorry.
But
Do you need to go to the table or are you okay if I sit here?
Sure.
Okay, so you should have all received one of these. We started putting together this little packet so that when you leave the meeting, you can read through it. And there are page numbers to correspond to the audited financial statements, the 70 pages that you were emailed. So, you can refer back to them. There are sections in the audited financial statements. The first 3 pages are the independent auditor's report. So you receive a clean opinion,
Yeah.
no
Very nice.
qualifications.
Thank you.
The next several pages, pages 4 through 10, are management's discussion and analysis, also referred to as MD&A. You may have heard that and didn't know what the letters stood for, what the acronym stood for. There's some very summarized financial information in there. And then it's discussed, and so management is able to discuss the points and point certain things out that they would want to give additional emphasis on. Then on pages 11 through 44 are what's considered the basic financial statement. So the first set is government-wide. It's full accrual. It includes all receivables, all debt, all liabilities, pension liabilities and everything. The next set is a little more fine-tuned, a little more
Detail.
less detail, so it does not include the debt or the fixed assets. It's what is called the modified accrual of basic accounting. And then the last section is the budgetary basis, which is probably what you're most accustomed to looking at. And with the treasurer's report,
So you will see, the original budget, the budget amendments, so the additional amendments that you just passed over here in the amended column have the, actual, and then the variance, you can tell the favorable in that. There are also some supplemental schedules. Well, there's, prior to that, there's some required supplementary information, and that's basically pertaining to pensions. And then the supplemental schedules are the details on all of the funds. So if you're looking at all of the reserves and how much cash is in each reserve, you will have a balance sheet and an income statement for each of the reserve funds. And then, the town met the requirement for needing a state single audit. So then there are the grant compliance reports. That's towards the end. And then, what I was working on today is actually, a procedure for the Board of Education. It's the EFS procedures. It's, testing that the state requires the boards of ed to have performed. And the Board of Ed will get their own report issued by us, submitted to the state. So there are certain specific procedures regarding special education, transportation, what's local funding, what is state funding, what is federal funding, what is in kind. And the state has specific procedures to be done on each of those schedules.
It's a test of what the schools submit into the online state system. They're reporting data into the big database of the State Department of Ed. So Department of Ed has its students extra procedures.
Great. I remember that from last year.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that we actually do that, so we started to let everybody know that that's part of the process.
Right.
And it's part of the audit fee.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next page, I'm going to give a little bit more detail. I had already talked about the auditor's report, the unmodified opinion. On the fund basis financials on pages 13 and 15, general fund has a undesignated fund balance of 735,000. That's about 12.7% of your budgeted expenditures. The budgeted expenditures are identified on the budgetary statements, which are on page 50. That's indicated on there.
Can you, I'm just, because it'll get lost if I
Okay.
don't ask.
Fine.
I remember last year you had pointed out the recommended window of percentages for town general funds, and can you remind us what that recommended?
Well, of the rating agencies will say 12 to 15% of your budgeted expenditures. Now, I editorialize a little bit on a very small town. Because in a very small town, when you have a culvert washout, or two or three, it costs the same whether you're in Falls Village or Torrington. But
Right.
Torrington's fund balance, they can
It's
pay
higher.
for 3 box culverts in a flash, where for you it might be more of a struggle. So sometimes a very small entity will think that 12 to 15% is small, it's 700,000. So again, if you lose 3 box culverts, do you want to wait and get financing, or do you want to be able to have reserves? So that's a policy issue.
Right, but so
No.
you're saying it's more on it's on the higher side of the 12 to 15%, is that what you're saying in your observation?
Well, so you're at 12.7.
Recommendation.
Right.
Yeah, so the rating, Moody's supposedly, they do 12 to 15%, but it's not small town, big town, that's nationwide. So, there's another test of 2 months revenues is another benchmark, which ends up being about 16%. I think it's 16.67% of revenue, so that's a higher number
Of revenues,
of revenues,
not
yeah.
expenses.
So there's different benchmarks.
Okay.
You know, every now and then when you have a big storm, a big disaster.
Mhm. And you're not in the position to recommend. You're
Yeah, I
just-
just, yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's
Okay, you're just-
editorializing a little bit, that sometimes a small town will say, well, we stick to 10 or 12%, there's
Mhm.
really not much latitude.
Okay,
Because again, a dump truck
yes,
costs the same here as it does in Torrington,
great,
but you don't have as many
Yes.
reserves.
great. Thanks for that. Sorry, and just wanted to, that's the one question I had.
That's fine. Feel free to interject as you feel the need. I was just also going to comment that that 735,000 does not include the amount that you have assigned to the fiscal year 24 budget. So in order to balance your fiscal year 24 budget, there's 323,000 assigned to that. In looking at all of your other funds, other than the general fund, your ARPA fund met the criteria to be reported as a major fund, so you will see that specifically identified. During fiscal year 23, 180,000, almost 181,000 was expended. And there were various projects, including your Cobble Road Bridge, a new boiler at the town garage. And then you supported many nonprofits within the town that came to you with specific projects. Last year, fiscal year 22, GASB 87 was required to be implemented pertaining to leases. So the town is the lessor for you have a couple leases in the building across the street, one of which is the cafe. So you will see that there is a receivable on the books for that. And then if you want to see the detail for all of the non-major funds, that's farther in the back. Of the audited financial statements on pages 51 through 56, each of your reserve funds will have a separate column. So you can look at the activity reported in each fund. The town does have some debt. You have for your emergency building, yeah. And so all of your debt payments are made according to the debt agreement. There was an extra payment made on your debt loan, a bridge loan, excuse me. There was a bond taken out several years ago for the bridge and for the school. And so now that the bridge was finalized and it passed final inspections, there was some money left over and it was put towards the debt. And some of the required supplemental information that I was referring to earlier, there are pension disclosures. If you look on pages 33 and 39, there are disclosures required for the teachers' retirement board. The town does not have any liability for those pensions, but the state is liable for them, and we just indicate here the state's portion for Falls Village is $3,163,000 for the teachers' retirement, and for the teachers' OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits. The state is Falls Village's portion that the state has is $277,000. If you're looking at the budgetary statement, which is what you're most accustomed to looking for at your meetings, you will see your original budget planned for using 235,000 of fund balance. There were additional appropriations made during the year. 36,000 for planning and a total of 36,000. Planning and zoning required additional appropriation for the plan of conservation. There was another appropriation for the dog fund and for the town hall, some web maintenance expenses. So then your amended budgeted use of surplus was 271,000, and out of the 271,000, you only needed to use 3,000. So the town performed very well. There were greater than anticipated tax collections, conveyance fees, the building officials did really well. You received some additional grants that were not budgeted for. And there were some miscellaneous revenues, for some tuition payments at the school, some health insurance reimbursements for Board of Ed people. And then you get some paid in lieu of taxes for a retreat center and the Music Mountain. Additionally, there were cost savings in most of your departments. So all of those contributed to not having to utilize your fund balance. On page 59, there's the tax collector schedule. At the end of the year, taxes receivable was 112,000, almost 113,000, which is approximately 2.3% of the current levy, which is very reasonable. It's down from last year, so she's doing a good job.
Yeah.
The last portion of the audit of financial statements pertains to the state single audit. So the town received state financial assistance of $473,000. And there is a formula that we need to utilize, and so the town aid road grant had some supplemental procedures that needed to be performed. And there were no findings that we identified with that grant. Another large grant that the town received was the ECS grant, the Education Cost Sharing Grant. I just thought I'd share also a little bit about the audit process, because a lot of you are new, or your new faces to me. We came out the end of May or possibly the beginning of June, I don't know the exact dates. And we come out then, we do a lot of testing. The books have not been closed, but we connect, spend a lot of time with the tax collector, do a lot of expanded testing there. We get a lot of information from the Board of Ed, that's the best department in the town. So we spend significant time with them getting information. We spend a lot of time with Linda, and we got preliminary numbers and looked at invoices, did a lot of tests of your controls. Had discussions. We try to connect with various people throughout the town, so you may have gotten an email from the, try to get somebody from the Board of Finance. We talked to the first selectmen and other people throughout the town hall. And then once the books have been closed and Linda was able to provide final numbers, we came out again for a couple of days, at the end of August. Linda's been historically very efficient and has been able to close the books in a very quick amount of time, so that you're one of the first audits where we can come out and do final field work, which helps us get the audit done in time for your December meeting. So at that point, we spent a couple of days out here and then went back to the office and start putting everything together. And so Linda's was great. And then Michelle took over, and I kept emailing her with, little loose end questions and things that popped out when we were putting all the pieces together. So thank you. And thank Linda. And does anyone have any questions? Oh, good.
Well, you're finding that, there's currently 9 towns filed in the whole state, so you could be number 10. But if you think about it, the original due date is December 31, right? Like, we'll say the 11th, 20 days, nothing gets done in the last week. So the vast majority of towns now go on extension and say it kind of gets, so you'll be like, you're gonna be top 10.
Yay.
So,
If we get the legal letter.
oh, right, yeah.
We worked on that.
Okay. I just have one quick question, and that is, and maybe Michelle too would answer this too, is that we're switching from one platform, I'm not familiar with Alden, Novak and Dodd, to QuickBooks. Do you anticipate that that's going to change how smoothly the last few audits have gone?
There's no seamless conversion,
No, there isn't.
but fortunately.
Have you been through this kind?
Alden, Novak and Dodd is the software from hell.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
anything's better than that.
Okay, great.
Thank you for being so.
Yeah, don't beat
blunt.
around the building.
I mean, you gotta be the last person in the state.
Okay, so,
It was a guy, the guy is in East Granby,
great,
and you say, hey, how come this doesn't work? Say, oh, I didn't turn that on.
okay,
So there's never a seamless conversion, but.
but you've been through it before.
Well, we've never been through it.
Oh, no, I mean, for towns.
Yeah,
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 you've
that's-
observed, yeah,
that's how I know it's never seamless, but at least you're moving to something that's gonna be way more user friendly.
Yeah. it's just the transition will be a tough one.
It might be,
Well,
but again, compared to all the Novak Dodd.
Well, once we're there,
it'll
it'll be
walk in the
great,
park, yeah.
but yeah, okay, cool, thank you.
I have a question. Would the, earlier in the meeting, you probably heard Chris raise the point that a significant amount of money that was allocated to the education budget wasn't spent. Is that something that you would have expected to detect in the audit?
So that's, in our management letter, that's what, and I heard, that was the one thing I didn't bring up at the beginning, because we were gonna hit it at the end. So we're gonna talk about it in about 45 seconds.
Okay.
So there was a management letter, you should have received a draft of that also. And there were just a couple of observations that we identified during the audit. I'll do the easy one first, then we'll talk about that, okay? So in all of your minor funds, which are all of the reserve funds, QuickBooks has a accounts payable feature where you enter things into accounts payable and then you pay them. And it year end, there was a lot of ARPA fund activity. And when we looked at a sample of invoices that were paid shortly after year end, a lot of them pertained to fiscal year 23. So we moved them back and put them into accounts payable. So I just making note of that fact, you can be more conscious of it next year. And I understand there was a lot of ARPA activity and she wanted to get those checks issued and she dated them July and it was for work done prior to year end.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
But, to finish her thought, we see this a lot where people are good at, it's called cutoff. Getting the invoices in the right period for the general fund, and then they can't, because that's where the budget is, and they don't pay as much attention to it in the other reserve funds. Because they think, well, there's no budget we have to comply with, but proper cutoff is putting the expenditure in the right period, the right year. So this is the second actual town that we've had the same finding on. Make sure you record your payables in all the funds, not just the general fund. Board of Education, so it kind of, I think it's been going on historically, it's past practice. It kind of came to light this year during the audit that the Board of Ed has always had a component of their budget where they're putting some money into a capital reserve out of their annual appropriation. And I think what really exacerbated it this year is the request to move it after year end on unexpended funds. But according to statute, the annual appropriation for education is for the operation and maintenance of education within that year. And education, they have a lot of restrictions. They can't receive a lot of types of money that the town can, and they can't just set aside money into reserves. It has to be done through the town. So when they said, oh, we want to put another 25,000 into our reserve fund, that's not allowable under the statutes for the education budget. That money must return to the town. Now, there are a couple of avenues. Sometimes the towns will have in their capital budget, they'll have, you know, for the bucket loader and the firehouse, and then a Board of Ed component in the town budget. But If they come to the end of the year and have a surplus, there was a provision added less than 10 years ago, I think. Where the Board of Finance can approve a non-lapsing education fund. And this is again by statute. So the Board of Ed,
Create one?
the Board of Ed would request, they'd say, hey, Board of Finance, we're gonna have $100,000 left this year. But we know, based on our enrollment, we already know that the budget we adopted in March or May is gonna be short on special ed because we've had changes in enrollment. We'd like to put that money into this special fund, instead of coming to you and asking for more money during the year. And you can approve that, and every year you would approve additions to the fund. Now, I use special education, but the Board of Finance could say there's no restrictions on what it's used for,
Could just be a reserve fund
reserve fund.
for that
So I've seen them for special ed and transportation.
capital.
In one town, I've seen capital in another town, I've seen unrestricted in another town. So it's up to the Board of Finance to approve the money going in. But then, well, so let's just say capital, then the Board of Ed says, we spend it on whatever capital we want. So if you're going to restrict it, you have to restrict it on the way in. So that's probably a tool that maybe you want to consider implementing.
Yeah, maybe we need to hear from the Board of Ed to see if that's something they would find useful, especially after this past year.
Yeah, and I'm just guessing if we say, well, if you say, well, you can't have a reserve in your annual appropriation every year, they're gonna say, oh, now we don't have that money that we knew every 5 years, we would do a boiler or whatever. And it's gotta be replaced. I shouldn't say have to be replaced, but need to be replaced with some other funding mechanism.
Can you say a word how this came to your attention though? That's really what I was getting, how it was discovered.
So I believe Linda got a request for, can we put 25,000, please cut a check to the capital reserve. And it was in September, October or something, well after year
I was
end.
putting financial statements together and
Yeah,
it's like, you have a fiscal year 23 expense now.
yeah. So Linda contacted us and said, can this be done? And I said, Debbie asked me, and I said, no, it can't be done because that annual appropriation is for expenses during the year. And then any surplus must go back to the general fund unless you create this non-lapsing education.
If you hadn't gotten a communication from the Board of Ed, is that something that you would expect to have discovered on your own?
I would have liked to think we would, but we didn't,
Okay,
because it's happened in the past.
right.
So,
So maybe it's I don't know how you do your sample audits and stuff like that, it's, but something to be sensitive about in the future.
Mm.
Well, wouldn't you have, if she had gone ahead and done it, wouldn't you have then seen that the numbers didn't match?
for this year.
Yeah, no, for last
Oh, yeah,
fiscal
for
year.
23.
You might have seen it in this year or last year, but you would have seen it in the numbers, no?
Yeah, that would have been, 23 would have been odd because
Yes.
then the numbers that were final were then
Match.
changed.
Yeah, they wouldn't match.
Yeah,
So you would have either discovered it at the next audit
Right.
or when you reviewed the final numbers for this audit.
right.
It would have been pretty
It would have
obvious.
popped out eventually. So
Yeah.
it popped out. Linda kind of had a concern. She ran it by us. So yeah, it was done in prior year and we didn't pick up on it or it didn't click with us as to what was
But
happening.
it also hasn't been a very large
Right,
amount.
it's small.
I think you put 2,000 in the technology fund and,
That was last year. right?
yeah, and then
Mhm.
5 in the other one and.
Right.
Yeah, but
It was good to clarify. Anything else, John or anybody else? No, okay.
Thank you very much.
I'll scan the letter that I just got in mail also for people to see. So I think we need to vote to, do we need to vote to approve the audit?
People accept it.
Yeah, to vote
Vote
to accept it.
it.
Okay, yes, so can I have a motion to accept the annual fiscal 23 annual audited report as presented by King and King and the draft that we received?
So moved.
Thank you. A second? Thanks, Carl. All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Can I have
Thank
a
you.
copy of the management letter? I don't think anybody has. one.
I think I have, is that it? No, November
No.
27th?
I don't think it went around the packet. I didn't see.
No, it
No,
wasn't in the
Yeah.
packet.
And I have it. I
Is
can
it
send-
the
can
one-
I send it to you tomorrow or
No.
maybe
Okay.
tomorrow?
That one's strictly to the board, and if
Okay.
we had difficulties working with staff, it would be communicated in there. And whereas this management letter has findings, which is more public.
Okay, great.
I must
So
have missed it in the attachment.
Yes.
I'll just send it to you.
can you send it to everybody?
Yeah, I'll send it to all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, now we are on to other new business items. General fund, I'm gonna, thank you very much again. I'm
Thank you.
gonna,
Nice
Thank you.
meeting you all.
do you mind,
Thanks,
John,
Fred.
leading that conversation?
No, not at all. I've been to 2 meetings. We get a lot of paper in preparation for the meeting. These are not the most intuitive financial statements I've ever seen. I'm new to the board, Tom's new to the board. We have some new alternates. There's a lot of new blood here. And I think it would be beneficial for us to be educated a bit on just the layout of the treasurer's report. So what I had in mind was just to have Michelle come in, we call a special meeting. So all I'm doing is proposing it tonight because people don't have their calendars, but to have a special meeting, maybe an hour long, something like that. That's the sole agenda item. And Michelle walks us through the treasurer's report. So we know the significance of what's behind the lines. We can see the relationships between some of the entries. As I said, I had difficulty tracing the reduction in the general fund to the static nature of the cash obligation. I didn't understand that. So I should understand that as a member of the finance board. So I think we ought to have a special meeting to just educate ourselves on this.
I think it's a great idea.
And I was thinking of, don't throw fruit at me, maybe a Saturday morning. That's to have an hour-long meeting, something like that.
I'd like to, I agree with what you're saying. Every month I have to prepare financial statements, and when I do, I actually do a write-up of the variances that are significant. So in addition to presenting the paper, the reports, I have a write-up. Mine's very detailed, but it doesn't have to be. This is a variance, these are some of the major transactions, and we could set a threshold. But I know
Yeah, to have a summary. I do
it's a
the same
summary,
thing.
it's a written summary, it doesn't have to be extensive.
Yeah.
But it is very helpful, kind of like what King did here, to help you understand.
Yeah,
Right.
and to help you focus on what changes. Or what
changes.
trends are.
And it's
occurring.
it's extremely, the person who's preparing it is the best person to.
Present, explain it, yeah.
And David, you were gonna add. something?
No, I was gonna say, I think it's a very good idea. I've worked in banking for 40 years and I just retired this year. And a lot of that was in municipal banking. And I've covered banks everywhere and covered municipalities everywhere from New York City to when I was with Salisbury Bank, most of the towns in Region 1. And GAAP and government accounting do not, if it's a Venn diagram, it's like this. Okay, it's not intuitive. It's absolutely not intuitive. Many things in GAAP are intuitive if you understand depreciation and other things like that. Government accounting is not intuitive, so, I
thought
think
that
we should have a
report
session,
city
and I'll help whenever I can.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, Michelle, we do this, if we might have Linda, if you want to have Linda join us, or if you feel you can conduct it yourself, that's fine.
Either
too.
way, I mean, she might join us. I
It's
can
up-
ask
it would
her.
be up to you.
I can't do a Saturday morning, no, because I'm in my salon on Saturday morning.
Right,
So we can pick another time.
Yeah.
Now that we've got you, what is a good time?
I guess you could throw some dates out to me. I have numerous meetings
Yeah.
and things.
are there usually evenings, or is there a weekend time that is good?
Sunday mornings are better than Saturdays for me. And I can get into all my meetings like second Tuesday, third Wednesday. I don't think you want me to really go there because the
But maybe
fire
you can-
department and.
Maybe you
stuff.
can throw out a few dates. to us.
Sure.
Okay, that'd be great. I think it's a great suggestion.
And it's not a quiz.
No, I,
We're trying to learn from you.
no, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Should we look sometime after the first of the year,
Yeah.
past the holidays?
Yeah, we should get
And then
that.
say something after the holidays.
I guess Monday evenings are good for me. I can't do Tuesday evenings. That's,
Can we just take a sense of the room? What do people feel like? Again, I think this will only have to be an hour. meeting. What do you-
Tuesdays and Thursdays are completely out for
Okay,
me, so.
what do people feel about a Sunday?
I don't have a problem with this.
No, I'm fine. I'm retired.
I don't know about Carol, but, I'm very open to that.
Maybe throw a couple of Sundays, and when we meet next, or maybe in the interim, you can pick a
Email.
couple of times on a Sunday when you want to get work.
Yeah, if you
I
can
mean,
throw a few, dates to us via email would be great.
Okay, I can do that. I'll throw you.
And I
some-
may set up a poll and.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll give you a couple dates.
Okay, thank you for bringing it up, John. Yeah. And now we're going to go to your item.
And I would propose that for the next meeting, I will do some research. I'll look into the statutes and regulations with respect to investments. And I want to talk to the Treasury Office about the specific details of the accounts. So we're comparing apples versus apples. And then if there are alternatives, I'll quantify those, and not just in terms of interest rates. They need to quantify what's it worth for 6 months, what's it worth for 5 years. I did a lot of spreadsheet analysis during that 40 years, so I'm happy to make a presentation on that. Because I think in this environment, we're talking about, probably tens of thousands of dollars on an annual basis.
Add one thing about National Iron Bank, that is a convenience to us is there are courier service for the tax collector and the treasurer. They come here twice a week to pick up our deposits. So that so I physically don't have to go to the
Spend the
bank,
time.
either does the treasurer away from our desk. Or,
It's a
tax
safety
collector,
reason
sorry.
too.
Okay,
Safety too, right?
Yeah,
Safety.
so I just want you guys to be aware of that when you're looking at.
no, yeah, we'll have a
Okay.
discussion.
right.
I'll give you a call and we'll set a
Okay,
time.
that's fine. I
for an
just so
afternoon.
you know, there is some things that they do for us.
Yeah.
Or
And
they
actually,
just
this
donate
was
this
this
building.
building.
Yeah.
The National Iron Bank building.
I just want.
Yeah. Okay.
Before we close that, I'll just say this, I, within the last year, I think I heard Denise say she did the same thing. American Express has FDIC insured accounts.
Yes,
For, it's just like every other bank, up to 250, and you can open multiples,
Yeah.
and they're paying about 4.5% rate.
and Marcus does the same thing. They're FDI insured. There are alternatives.
So,
I don't mean to push online banking and with some, but no, there are major banks
But
that
you'll
have
be
better
that's what you'll
returns
be researching.
that don't have a lot of investment in brick and mortar.
and it's very convenient, you can move money to National Iron with a push of a button.
Yeah, it's just a matter of the statute,
Aesthetic.
No, I look at it. I spent a lot of years, I have a
Yeah,
law
you'll know.
degree too.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
spent a lot of years reading statutes and regulations.
that's,
I can
we are
get through
lucky to
that.
have that. Skill
Well,
set.
every year, this topic comes up. I've been here,
What?
6 or 7 years. And,
It doesn't go anywhere.
it doesn't go anywhere.
Well,
So this
we'll
will
see
be
what
the
we can
first
do.
year, because we're always assured that what we've got is the best. But I'm happy to,
Yeah,
we
that you're-
have somebody available
Oh,
that
yeah,
that can get
yeah.
into it.
And I understand, local, I mean, I work for Salisbury Bank. Salisbury Bank is no more. It's not a local
Right.
bank anymore.
No.
So we should just keep an open mind and think about what's best for our taxpayers.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Any other business to come before the board, other than I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday, no matter what you celebrate. And it's been, I thought, a very interesting and productive meeting, although it is hard to get through an audit report, I will admit. Anything else? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Steve. Second,
Second.
Carl, I'm taking your second. All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Here's 3X.
Calling the meeting of the Board of Selectmen, at 8:02. Good evening, everyone, and happy holidays. Going down our agenda, we have no additions to the agenda. Public comment? Public comment? No public comment? Okay.
Oh, wait,
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
let me check the chat.
Nope, no public comment. Has everyone had a chance to look over the pending minutes from November 13th, 2023, our regular meeting?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm
Opposed? Abstentions? Have you had a chance also to look over the treasurer and tax collector's report? And I'll take a motion to
So moved.
take them as received.
second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Written communications, I actually have three quick communications. Please forgive me. Yes. Okay. Have a letter from the now visiting nurse and hospice of Litchfield County, which now incorporates Foothills, VNA, and the SVNA. And we usually budget every year $2,000 to give to them. I pass this to our social service agent. So that was their request. King and King Associates already, you've seen a letter regarding our audit. That was another written communication we had. And last but not least, we had from one of our residents in the center of town. They are thinking about two different ideas they have, which one is to create a dog park. We had looked at this several years ago, but it really didn't get any traction. Second was to create an actual fund for people in the center of town who had their septics failed. I'm going to refer to the infrastructure committee to take a look at that and speak with Ann Beddoe, who actually wrote the letter, and see the feasibility of what she was speaking about. She says it happens actually in other towns. And the dog park, I'm going to speak with the committee because right now Town Farm, at least in my mind, would be the ideal place to have it. So those were the communications I had. Transfer station, we have spoke about this. We'll handle this under new business, but a copy of the fees, we worked on this with Pete Russis from the transfer station. But I'd like your input also when we get to it. The DOT, as I spoke about, looking at the speed limits. I have submitted the paperwork to Alejandro Osorio, a transportation engineer. We hope to hear something back from him regarding dropping the speed limits on Route 126 and Route 7 as they pass through the center of town. I do have a letter from actually I have two letters, and I will go over at Mr. Koshland. I have two letters, one from Mr. Koshland at the Planning and Zoning Commission's meeting of November 30th. They discussed ending, there was two terms ending of their current members. It's looking for Matt Mackey and Doug Cohen to now become 5-year appointees. And their terms would end December 31st, 2028. They're actually replacing Garrett Scavato and John Morrissey, and actually they are filling out their terms till the end of this year. So we're looking, Steve, to have them actually appointed two full 5-year terms.
Yes.
Okay, we'll discuss that under new business. And another motion regarding Greg Marlowe, who's presently on it. And we'll get to that when we talk under new business. Again, Region 1 capital maintenance projects presentation, I sent that out also to the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, just to get it on our radar. Falls Village Daycare applying for grant. I don't know, I know that they have applied. I believe the date for them to complete the application was December 5th, but with all applications, they will find out, I believe sometime in January. I talked about the Connecticut Education Network Zoom, which you heard me speak to the Board of Finance about. You also heard me speak about Rista Malacca and the community economic development through the COG. We have the license for our environmental license for the culvert project on Cobble Road, King and King the Draft. The POCD, I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity. I've only had the opportunity to page through it. You will need, Mr. Koshland, our approval on that.
Yes.
But that will be prior to the January 24th meeting. Right, the January 24th meeting. So we will review that and each individually, and then get back to our meeting in January and vote on it. Like I say, I've only had an opportunity to scan it at this point in time. 35, excuse me, Selectmen's report, moving to old business, Denise. 35 Railroad Street, the update is as of last week, I believe the easement question has been taken care of. Ordinance and policies, I'm going to suggest that we, and I will take a motion that we will meet another day on those to actually complete the process of putting them together. But I will point out to you that the bazaars and raffles will be an amendment to one that we already have regarding, and needs to be brought up to date. But I'd like you all to review the newest state statute. The Frontier proposal, I'm going to try to get John McDonald to actually do a Zoom with us. Economic Development Director Committee discussion. I would like to further discuss this with Rista Malacca, who I'm going to meet with right after the first of the year to see what might be the most successful of putting together. Chris, if you would bring us up to date on the Bridge and Infrastructure Committee.
Yeah, we met on December 5th. Recommended new members. We actually voted on recommending Lee Baldwin be appointed. We also threw a couple other names out. Sergey Fedorich. Fedorenko. Get confused with the hockey player there. And Jake Peterson, local fella in town, builder. So at some point, I guess I would like to make a motion to increase the number of members on the committee from 3 to 6, I guess.
And we'll do that in new business.
Okay. All right, so we began to form a list of priorities for the list of town-owned infrastructure. Senior center roof, among those is the senior center roof in areas of the eyebrow dormers need to be investigated. There's a possible flashing issues up there, the roofs, I think they're leaking. The DPW garage still needs a salt shed oil water separator with some type of a wash pad. They're unable to perform simple maintenance tasks like washing the lawnmower decks and whatnot, so. The bulky waste is something. That's big on, I propose we really need to do a proactive approach on that rather than a reactive. So it'd be good to have some type of a plan in mind. We also discussed the stopping of all the dumping of wood chips. The plan is really unsustainable the way it is. We approximated about 6,000 cubic yards
About 568 truckloads.
and not really sure what to do with them. The daycare center is ID'd for, two things at the daycare center. One is, and I haven't learned enough about it, but they're, applying for a grant for some type of. What was it?
I have that.
You do?
I have
Okay,
that.
so I'll learn more about that from you. The other thing was, the old pool needs to be addressed. And we haven't yet formed subcommittees to look at each of the, categories in the, so we'll work on that in the next meeting.
Okay. The solar project, everyone has heard, during the, Board of Finance meeting, I cast a big net out there and I got a lot more information than I had anticipated. Again, I'll be working with some, the Connecticut Council of Municipalities on some things. I'll be working with some other towns who have already, put solar in. So, and then meeting with, the Board of Finance member, John Steinis, regarding what we need to work up for numbers, which would, most help the, Board of Finance understanding where we would be going. New business. We don't have any, tax rebates or suspension lists. Let's move on to the appointments. Again, I have two emails here, one from Stephen Koshland and one from Fred Laser. And again, the Planning and Zoning Commission, I'll read from Fred Lasers. The Planning and Zoning Commission would like to request the reappointment of Doug Cohen, who replaced John Morrissey's term, and the reappointment of Matt Mackey, who replaced Garrett Scavato's term. Both would have 5-year terms moving forward, which would take you all the way to December of 2028. I can't even think that far ahead. Okay, and both of those gentlemen are here this evening. Additionally, the Planning and Zoning Commission would like to confirm the reappointment of Greg Marlowe, whose term is from 2021 to 2025. If a formal motion is necessary to retroactively reappoint Greg Marlowe as commissioner, the P and Z would support that motion. Do I have a motion to accept the appointments? We don't have to do those individually, Denise.
We have to do Greg's differently because it has different terms.
Okay, so I will take a motion for Doug Cohen and Matt Mackey to take the place of John Morrissey. Well, they already are, but now they are going to be appointed in their own right till December 2028.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Additionally, okay, confirm the reappointment of Greg Marlowe, whose term is from 2021 to 2025. If a formal motion is necessary to retroactively reappoint Greg Marlowe as a commissioner, the P and Z would support that motion. May I?
Do we have a month associated with those?
That would be May.
May.
Thank you.
I move.
I thought I was correct.
I move to retroactively appoint Greg Marlowe to the Planning and Zoning from May of 2021 to May of 2025.
2020,
2020,
2020, not 2021.
2020.
2020,
20
okay,
May,
that,
May of
I'm sorry, that was
2020.
your,
I know.
I apologize. So let's get it right.
Thank you, sorry.
May
No,
of
no, thank you.
2020 to May of 2025.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Motion carries. You've had an opportunity to look at the transfer station fee schedule. I'm going to do something a little odd here. I'm going to look at one of the businessmen in town, and I think you saw a copy of the schedule. And this is somewhat patterned after what Salisbury is doing. And I know it's a little out of order to do this. I apologize, but I don't think he got a good look at it and asked for any type of comment. And I know this is a little bit out of order. I apologize, but I think while we have someone here who knows what a yard is, I think
I do know this is more than what we're charging for tires.
oh, yes.
Yeah, no, it looks fine. Usually what they do is, the container.
By the way, this would be Steve Dean from the Board of Finance.
They usually charge by the ton, but this looks like it's real close.
Well, per ton we can't do, we don't have a scale.
No, but, you've got it stated here.
Full
No, that
size,
looks-
small.
That looks about right. What are we paying to get rid of the tires?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm not sure, but we're not making any money here on anything.
No, just as long as we're
Covering the,
covering the
I believe we're covering the costs and what I.
tires.
Pieces.
Light truck. Yeah, car and motorcycle might be a little cheap, but,
Mhm.
and pallets were $5, correct? Another 10.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say as long as we're covering the trucking and the disposal.
Yeah, I know that's a little irregular what we did here, but I apologize, but I thought it was good to have some.
Is there a cost associated with appliances with Freon versus appliances without Freon?
Yes,
So,
Mhm.
no, I understand that, but I mean, it's not broken down appliances without Freon
the appliances without Freon, they've actually put in the bulk,
in a,
big metal
okay,
container.
okay,
So, but it's with Freon where you have a problem.
yeah, no, I get that.
And primarily those appliances that you're looking at are air conditioners.
Well, yeah, refrigerators, freezers, anything.
Right.
else, So,
But we have more air conditioners than anything else, believe it or not.
yeah, okay. I think there's some appliances that are probably more plastic now than usable scrap metal. Yeah, okay.
I will entertain a motion by either of you to accept this and put this into effect the first of the year.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
are we gonna advertise this somehow?
I guess we are.
somebody send it out to the database and put it on.
Sorry, and we will post this at the
Okay,
transfer station.
You want it on the website?
I'm sorry.
You want it on the website?
Yes,
Transfer station has a
also
page.
there, Denise, but
Okay.
we will also put a copy over there, obviously. Okay. We have consideration of the Bridge and Infrastructure Committee appointment. We looked at one appointment and Chris, I will have you make that motion.
yeah, let's see, do I have to increase the number of,
To add Lee, you're fine, but if you're going to add more than Lee, you need to change the committee
Correct.
because you're limited to three
three? Yeah.
individuals from
the way,
town.
the way it is now.
Yeah,
So I guess.
So we have actually two motions here this
Yeah,
evening.
yeah. So first, I'm gonna make the motion that we increase uh, the number of committee members to 6, right?
that's what you want, yeah.
Because it would be,
Well, the way it's set up is 3
Right.
selectmen,
But,
whatever Tim's title is,
Yeah.
and 3 individuals from the community. So
but
you
you
don't
want,
want 6 members,
but your first selectman is an ex officio member now who
not
can't
if you've been
vote.
appointed to a committee, Dave. You can make yourself that.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
made myself the ex
But-
officio.
Okay, so.
So
the
that actually
selectmen-
opens, right.
so we have Steve, Dusty. Okay, and you're not,
I'm not-
so,
Okay, well, then you have to change the original motion, because the original motion is says the 3
Mhm.
selectmen are members of the committee. No, it doesn't, and 3 individual members from the community. So you
So
can't,
what we need to
swap.
do is we need to say 4 members of the community, 2 selectmen. The 2 selectmen, and I would be an ex officio.
Well,
No?
it'd be more than 4.
We need
because
more
you're-
members from the community.
Yeah.
Correct. So you'd have 4 members from the community.
yeah, all you have to do is change the
Right.
would be
3 to
Dusty,
6.
Dusty, Steve,
Steve,
Lee,
Sergey,
Lee.
and Lee.
and Jay.
No, you asked me to contact Jake.
Oh, and Jake, so it'd be 5, yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you talk to Jake?
He wants to come to the next meeting.
Okay, good.
and take a
Why don't you
look.
do up to 6?
I would say
Yeah, okay, let's make it
6.
6, because then there's
A little
there's also
flexibility.
Tim Downs. That's not, he's included, other than he's another member, but not,
Not one of the 3 individuals.
Right.
Or now 6.
right.
Okay,
So I make a motion to increase the membership to 6 members from the town,
6 qualified members from the town,
yeah,
up to?
up to,
2 6. Plus the selectmen.
plus this,
They're already in there, though.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
2 selectmen.
I second
All in favor?
that.
okay.
Opposed? Now you're second.
Now I make a motion to appoint Greg Marlowe, or I mean, Lee Baldwin to the Bridge Committee,
Infrastructure.
Bridge and Infrastructure Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I just want to make sure I have the first one right, it's to increase the members, the qualified members from the community from 3 up to 6.
Up to
Up to 6,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
It's a good group too.
Yeah,
And finally, item E, consideration of the Connecticut grant for early voting. Our registrars will apply. Let me just read the letter to you quickly from the Office of Secretary of State. Pursuant to Public Act 23-204, the Connecticut Secretary of State will provide a grant in the amount of $10,500 to each municipality for costs related to implementing and conducting early voting. The Secretary of State will distribute the grants starting in January 2024, contingent on municipalities detailing their intended use of the funds and returning this signed agreement. This funding provided as a sub-recipient one-time grant. There's several notes. Right now, I will skip down to my town intends to utilize the funds for labor costs for personnel to accommodate early voting, location-related expenses for early voting, additional bookkeeping expenses for payroll, equipment costs, printing of materials, supplies, and education for additional poll workers and the public. Now, what I would be asking you that both our registrars, Susan Kelsey and Denise Cohen, are applying for this. I would ask you your permission, okay, to sign as our authorized town official and date so that we can send this in and hopefully get that $10,500. So I would make the motion that I'd be allowed to Well, no, I can't make that motion. You
I
please
can
make.
make that motion. That you are the signer of this
Okay, I will.
application.
Second, it.
Any discussion from our registrar who happens to be our recording secretary?
No, there's some stipulations in the grant that we should be aware of. I'm hoping that Michelle can set up a separate line item, early voting costs, so every of this 10,500, every time we spend something, it automatically goes to that, because what is not expended, we have to ask for an extension on, or we have to return, and we do have to account for every penny that we get.
If I might, Denise, I actually skipped over this, but I'd be willing to read it and we'll enter it in the minutes also. Please note, acceptable utilization of funds includes costs directly tied to changes necessary to implement early voting. Examples include, but are not limited to, labor costs, printing costs, location related expenses, voter education or equipment and supplies. Funds, number 2, funds are to be fully expended by December 31st, 2024. Next, prior to January 31st, 2025, your town must report expenditure to the Office of the Secretary of State. Reports must include backup information such as ledger report from your financial system or copies of purchase orders and invoices. If funds are not fully utilized prior to December 31, 2024, contact the Office of the Connecticut Secretary of State at blah, 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 to request an extension on utilization, including intended use of remaining funding. By accepting funds, the town agrees that it will comply with applicable public auditing requirements in accordance with the provisions of section 7-394A and 7-396A of Connecticut General Statutes. By accepting the funds, the town agrees that it is compliant with all applicable state and federal non-discrimination laws. So we've had our discussion. Conduct the vote. All in favor?
There's more to it though, too, Dave, as a Board of Selectmen, you have to decide what we're gonna do with early voting, so we know what supplies to order. We're
Right.
talking 10 days for primary, 14 days for the election
Right.
next year.
And
No
I,
place to do it in.
and I will defer to the registrars, both registrars of voters, and take their sage advice as to what we should be doing. But I think we should apply for this as quickly as possible.
yeah, I second it.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, no further discussion. Okay. We have any other business to come before the board?
Me?
If not, any I wanted to call it post-public comment, but I guess I can call it just public comment. Doug, and please identify yourself. I'm sorry.
Doug Go. I have a couple of questions. What are we, 2 minutes, right?
You're off.
Just a brief explanation, if you don't mind, Dave. I have 2 pages of agenda that I printed out here. There's a lot of things that are on the page, but we're not discussing, or is any of this actionable? So anyway, for an example, you know, I'm moving ahead of your selectmen's report, which touches on things, and then the second page, we go to like old business, 35 Railroad update. So what's the update?
The update I gave was that I know that both the attorneys have come to an agreement on the easement. I don't have that paperwork in front of me right at this moment. But I know that that is the update of where we're going, because of the vote we had, the referendum, there was 2 issues, one of them being the easement. And we felt that having the easement actually settled prior to the sale. So
Okay,
that's where we are.
that's great. I don't know if I missed that. I apologize if I did.
You know, I'll be honest with you, Doug, and I'll give you my 15 seconds here. I'll yield these 15 seconds back. We actually touched upon it in the report to the Board of Finance. So.
All right, I'm not sure everybody attends that, so maybe it's
Right.
something, you know, again here. The other one would be the Frontier proposal.
I have the Frontier proposal here and I distributed it to the Board of Finance the last time. I believe they should have a copy of it.
Last meeting. Mhm.
Yeah, at last meeting. And what I want to do is I want to, and again, this was in the Board of Finance report, and this is why we're changing the meetings around coming January.
Good.
Was
Right.
that I want to schedule with the representative from Frontier, actually, to do either a presentation here or a presentation via Zoom to explain every facet of it. I think it's much better for the Board of Finance to be able to ask questions directly to them rather than me be the conduit of the information.
Sure.
So more direct. And I also had asked the members of the Board of Finance also to tune in on a couple of the Zooms that we had with the Connecticut Education Network. I'm not sure if that will help us in any way, shape, or form decide what we may do with Frontier. So I want to give those actual choices.
Very good. So again, I guess if you're not at the Board of Finance.
And that's why we're changing it around.
Very good. Just a couple, and I'll go quickly, please. You and I had met a while back about the Economic Development
Yes.
Director thing and yada, yada. You were going to meet with, Rista
I met
Blanca on the 27th of November.
Yes, I met with her at 8:30 in the morning. We actually Judy happened to be in town. Unfortunately, Chris is still finishing off his job prior to retirement. And congratulations to him at the end of the year here. But we had a discussion with her. As a matter of fact, Rob Phillips, who is the director of the COG, actually came up also. He didn't have too much to add, only to offer any help that he could with anything having to do with the community that the COG could be instrumental in helping us with. As a matter of fact, I have my first COG meeting on Thursday at 10 a.m. So I'll be able to bring you back a little bit more information after that. But what Rista had spoke to us about, what she was, although she is familiar with the town because she has hiked the AT, she's been in town, she really doesn't know too much about the character of town. So what we tried to do is give her a little bit flavor of the town. I also explained that I apologize. Again, another reason for us to have the Board of Selectmen meeting first. I explained how she is looking at a regional approach to economic development. And I wanted to take a little bit of information from her and find out what she thinks is our most successful makeup of having a economic development committee.
Okay, great. That's helpful. I think you and I discussed, and I think we agree now that at one point it was said we needed an economic director to be able to receive.
And that is, that's
That's
clearly off the table. A committee would do.
Correct.
All right.
Okay.
But again, I will have a little bit more information, hopefully by the January meeting on where we want to go. And you and I can communicate about that whenever, but, we are going to move in that direction. I just want to see what our most successful makeup may be. And I know we've
Sure.
discussed this off board regarding who or what type of individuals we would want that could bring something to the table to help us move forward in that direction of economic
I
development.
think historically, we all agree that, we've never had a director in place. Almost every major grant that's ever done anything to build this town has been by volunteers,
Correct.
and we've done very well at that. So I'm not sure we need to do it anyway. We've discussed, but we don't need it by state mandate or state regulation. or what.
No, but what again, as I said, I want to see what she thinks. She's done this for a while.
Sure.
And I'm willing to defer to her to find out, some things that we may work and what didn't work.
All right.
No need to reinvent the wheel in several places.
I agree. One last thing, and this is kind of a question to the three of you, please.
Quit moving back and forth there, Chris.
Okay, sorry. It's always chit chat around town, but there's talk about trying to get the P and Z membership as elected positions versus appointed. So what I'd like to do is get your opinions as the selectman on that. I don't know the value of that. I'm not sure. I haven't had a lot of discussions with people that are, presenting that, but I've heard it more than once now. What do you think? What do you feel? Is there an advantage to that? I'm a little bit in the dark about what's the better position to go, but it seems to be kind of a behind the scenes little political thing going on. So Dave, what's your opinion? Elected versus appointed?
Right at this point in time, Doug, I would have to tell you, I would go with appointed. Okay, and the reason being is because we do have such a small town, and those volunteers that are willing to step up into the position, many of them, I don't know about you, I don't know about Matt or Steve. you know, some people have an aversion to running for political office or what they see as a political office and actually running for office. I know that in some towns there are elected, there are also appointed. Over the past few years that I have been involved in town government here, I've seen the appointed work. At least I think it's worked well. But again, looking to the legislative body as a whole, I can't rule out either to have people voted in. But I think that what the P and Z has done over the years is they have looked at individuals who are basically volunteering, who sit a number of hours and really bring something to the table. So that's my feeling. I'm not going to say that I would completely rule it out, but I think that our present system has worked fairly well.
Good.
Well, I served on P and Z years ago, so I kind of know the process. I'm not so much in favor of having an elected position as just more open, where people realize there's an open position. So if there is an interest in the community, that they could maybe attend one of the meetings and learn more about it. Doesn't necessarily have to be elected. It just, I think it's with all the committees and commissions and everything, we need to have the communication that we're looking for volunteers. And I think we need to get the word out a little bit better about that. I know the Recreation Commission did that on Facebook. I don't know if that was, is that how you found out?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's ways we can engage the community a little bit more. But that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I think historically it's been appointed as long as I can remember, and I served on in the early nineties up until I guess 99 when I got out. As long as it's as unpolitically charged as the Board of Selectmen can be. So I think you take that aspect out of it, you know, which can be good, it can be a problem too, I guess. But I don't have a problem with it being appointed at all. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate your opinions.
By the way, Doug, you're over your 2 minutes, but what do you?
Wait a
I
minute,
do
Dave.
like that. And that has come on. I like to see young people getting involved.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. No,
He's calling the rest of us old, Matt, just so you know.
You're the future.
Please identify yourself, sir.
Stephen Kochland, I did like what Judy said about, information about, openings and the like, and that used to be part of the selectmen, minutes. They would actually say what boards were vacant, what
Yeah.
spots were available,
And
and then
we
that
could
could be
do
part
that.
of the town record, on a monthly basis, and that could help keep up with.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's a good
point.
point.
I think
Yeah.
one of the things that the three of us had said several months ago is get involved. Get
Yeah.
involved. And I see some new faces here, so hopefully people are.
And a lot of
getting
people are coming forward saying they want to get involved now.
Great,
So it's a good thing, and we need to encourage it.
yeah, no, it's wonderful.
Any other
No,
public?
that's good, thank you.
Okay,
I have a question before you adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody else have a comment?
yeah, that's what I was looking.
Go ahead.
Do-
Oh, chat. Yeah. I always forget this one.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to
No chat.
point at you. Yes,
Are you gonna have any kind of meeting between now and the end of the year? Cause you guys have some appointments that are expiring. And we need to figure out what to do on January 8th, which is our Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance meetings and the high school referendum.
I guess we will be meeting before the end of the year.
we will be.
For this, you can change it to the 9th. That's the high school referendum.
Mhm.
We can change our meeting to the night.
And we
It
have,
has to be a special meeting. I mean, you can do it right now. Oh, no, you probably want to talk with the Board of Finance.
yes, we have to talk with the Board of Finance.
But you can't add anything to the agenda if you call it a special meeting.
It's
So it
what
have
we
to be
Right.
or move it up, but you have to postpone this one,
Mhm.
I mean, the January 8th one.
Or we could vote to have it at a different location. The town meeting.
The town meeting or the Board of Selectmen?
I'm sorry, the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance meeting.
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay. All right, we will meet and discuss that.
That has, yeah,
We-
there's a statute on what to do if you change the
I have-
location of the regular place on the schedule for Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance
We
meeting, but I don't
planned
remember exactly what it is.
our meeting before they planned that referendum, I'll tell you.
Well, you also need to make a decision on what you're doing on, with the town hall that day. You do not need to close the town hall for a referendum or vote. You can put up, dividers,
Mhm.
and that's on the list of things to buy with the grant, and keep the town hall open.
Okay, let's, I would like to discuss this Wednesday with the registrar of voters. Okay, both on what the plans are to do
Okay.
this.
And
And
then,
then we will make a decision based on that.
and a special meeting for
Then we'll have to set a special meeting for that.
for you guys.
Yes, but let me discuss this with both the registrars on Wednesday as to see what our plans are. And then what we'll do is we'll move on from there.
Okay. And there is a statute about moving the location for.
I know
regular
there
meetings.
is. Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what it says.
It's under municipal powers.
No, it's under meetings. It's under
I
the
think
meetings.
it's-
Yeah, same thing.
When
with
they
you
have the
to
meeting
get it-
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's there somewhere.
What time is your meeting Wednesday?
Or,
Meeting with the registers?
Yeah,
I'll probably come in here around. When will Sue be here? Around
Sue
9?
gets here between 9 and 9:30. I'm
Yeah.
usually here between 7 and 7:30. What time did you want to come? I'll rearrange my day for you, Chris.
well, I got a dentist appointment at 10:30 and then I think there's planning and zoning gonna meet with is Fred gonna meet with Janelle
Wednesday at noon
Wednesday at noon here?
here.
Yeah, so I'd like to be there for that, 11:30.
You're,
If I'm here, I'll.
9
join.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, well, and again, it's not a meeting per se. We'll just decide where we're going with what the registrars are suggesting to us, what the setup's going to be here. And then we'll have to decide where we're going with, that's gonna be this Wednesday.
The decision on the referendum is an easy one. Are you closing the town hall to no business that day or leaving it open? That's all we need to know.
I believe you probably would be leaving it open.
That's what I would do.
Yes,
It's not my.
but I just wanted to discuss it with both of the registrars.
Okay.
Okay,
Does the referendum have to be at the town hall?
It has to be in a location that has access to CBRS, which is only in the registrar's office.
even that one I knew.
And the tabulators and all that are here.
Okay.
But early
That,
voting,
that's on
January
January
8th.
8th, yeah.
but the early voting is something that we really need to discuss, and you might want a separate meeting for that, because it's gonna cost us a lot more than 10,500
So we'll talk about sending a movie for that.
just for that. Yeah,
Okay,
and it starts with the presidential primary in April.
You'll meet with the voters.
just the registrars.
Right, and then we have to, the three of us have to meet to set.
Then I'll get to you and to set a date.
But you can do a special meeting, but early voting's a
We could do
lot,
it.
an awful. Oof.
We got a lot to play with
Yeah,
here,
okay.
dates ones. Okay, well, in that case, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Everyone, thank you for being here tonight and happy holidays. Hey, Doug, you have a moment?
I do.
She did pretty good. That's a good one.